everyone. Welcome to Creative Mornings, Virginia Beach. We're so thrilled to see a packed house here. Grateful for the holidays, so thank you for escaping the holiday rush and coming in here to join us this morning. I'm Kate Pittman. I'm the Executive Director of the Vibe District and also your Creative Mornings host. And we're so grateful to our hostess, Tessa Halting-Het with the Creative Well, for being here to help host us every month in the host center how we gather. So we have a great committee that helps us do all the things. We've got Robert Vivash in the back there with Brand Fuel. We have Misty behind the camera. Misty saves the day. Thank you, Misty. We've got Chris Lane on video. Yeah. Myself and Tessa. We've got Valeria here who does our beautiful speaker intros and our blog. We have Sunny who is here that helps us with our themes each month. And then Destiny over on the side there. Be helping fill in for Rachel today on the Creative Manifesto. So our theme this month is innovation. And when we get to that with Sunny after the Creative Manifesto, we're really excited to have a beautiful speaker here to talk about that topic. Hey, Destiny, you want to lead us in Creative Mornings Manifesto?
Good morning, everyone. Does everyone have a manifesto? Does anyone need one? All right, everyone ready? Yes. Everyone is creative. A creative life requires bravery and action, honesty and hard work. We are here to support you, celebrate with you, and encourage you to make the things you love. We believe in the power of community. We believe in giving a damn. We believe in face-to-face connections and learning from others in hugs and high fives. We bring together people who are driven by passion and purpose, confident that they will inspire one another and inspire change in neighborhoods and cities around the world. Everyone is welcome.
Yeah.
And on that note, with everyone being welcome, we do want to acknowledge our global sponsor, Adobe, and then also our local sponsor here, the Virginia Beach Arts and Humanities Commission. So thank you to our City of Virginia Beach representatives. We have our council member, Worth Remick, here with us this morning. And we have Sunny Peoples, who is an Arts and Humanities Commissioner, who's going to read our theme.
Season's greetings, Virginia Beach. Our theme for December is innovation. It was chosen by the Isfahan chapter in Iran and illustrated by Nazanin Imamieh. Groundbreaking innovations and earth-shaking technologies make headlines and millions of profit. But innovation rarely arrives in a limousine. It shows up as a question or a pet peeve, a hunch, the default setting could be better, an inability to accept the status quo. Innovation is risky and rebellious. It means breaking the routine and reimagining the familiar. It treats uncertainty as an innovation, an invitation instead of a barrier. Innovation doesn't take a genius. It requires curiosity and willingness to try and try again. The world needs more tinkerers, experimenters, and fixers. People who believe change is possible and start with whatever they have. They don't stop until they've made something new and better. Creativity asks, what if? Innovation replies, here's how. And now for Valeria for our introduction of our wonderful speakers.
Thank you. Sheetal Ajmani, MD, is a physician, founder of Radiant Living Institute, and medical advisor for the Benjamin Goldberg Foundation. After nearly 2 decades in pediatric practice, she founded Radiant Living Institute, blending science, psychology, and the mind-body connection to help people bring meaningful changes toward well-being and authentic liberation. As medical advisor for the Benjamin Goldberg Foundation, Dr. Ajmani curates educational events, including the annual Healing Arts and Medicine Conference and Hampton Roads' first social prescribing roundtable convening. She leads pilot projects integrating healing arts into health systems and community settings, and reviews the evidence supporting these modalities in healthcare. She also authored the Social Prescribing Roundtable Community Action Plan, a 50-plus page guide for regional leaders to launch social prescribing initiatives in her communities. Dr. Ajmani is excited to share from the hearts, and social prescribing can be used to innovate the healing journeys of individuals, caregivers, and communities and the roads and beyond. Please join me in Sheetal.
Thank you, everyone. It's such an honor and a pleasure to be here with you today. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. So, speaking on the theme of innovation, and with Sunny's beautiful introduction of that innovation starts with a hunch, a question of what if? And so I want to describe and start off by going into a little bit of a hunch that I had, a hunch that Wendy Goldberg had, who is sitting in the back of the room right there, how we joined forces, and then a bit more into what we're doing around healing arts and social prescribing here in Hampton Roads and beyond. So a little bit of my own journey to start off and the hunch that I had. I started medical school in 2002, so 23 years ago, here at EVMS in Norfolk, Virginia. And it was that first semester of medical school that I started practicing yoga. I took yoga classes at the Downtown Y, and I experienced something within myself that I had never experienced before, a sense of peace and calm that I had never experienced before. And that clued me into that there is more to healing than what I was learning in medical school. I knew that what I was learning in school was incredibly important. I knew that I wanted to finish medical school and become a physician. And I also knew that there was more to healing, to well-being, and to living a full life than what I was learning in school, than pharmacology and disease management and that sort of thing. It was also that first semester of medical school that I heard about this thing called Ayurveda. Ayurveda is the ancient medical system of India, often referred to as a sister science to yoga. Actually, yoga is a part of Ayurveda. And so these seeds were planted for me. And Ayurveda, being the ancient medical system of India, is really focused on lifestyle practices, daily activities, daily routines, diet, really encompassing all of the aspects of life that lead to a full, well life. Beyond just the physical, also to include our emotional experiences, our creative experiences, our relationships, our spiritual experiences. And so I knew that once I finished medical school, I was going to want to dive deeper into both of those. And that's exactly what I did. When I completed medical school, I became a certified yoga instructor. I also became a certified Ayurveda lifestyle consultant. You'll see on the screen here, I jotted down like East meets West medicine. Unfortunately, I don't still have the little scrap of piece of paper, but my first semester of medical school, I jotted down on a scrap piece of paper, East meets West medicine. That was my hunch. I knew that there was a way to blend the two. I knew that both were really, really important, and I just didn't know how. And I spent much of my career while I was practicing medicine exploring and really praying on ways to bring these two aspects together and these two areas of expertise that I had been cultivating and using it within my own life as well, and how to do that for my patients and for communities. And so I did what I could within the paradigm, within the healthcare system that we have here. But I knew that there was more, and I prayed on this for years. Wendy's hunch. Wendy Goldberg, back there, she's the founder of the Benjamin Goldberg Foundation. So she also had a hunch. Her son, Benjamin, who you see pictured here, was diagnosed with a rare pediatric cancer when he was 5 years old, neuroblastoma. That sent Benjamin, Wendy, and her family on a healing journey for the next 3 years while he was receiving treatment, both here locally as well as at Memorial Sloan Kettering Hospital in New York City. Ben would frequently reach to his headphones for solace, for healing. He, at 5 years old, had so much innate wisdom, intuitive wisdom. I did not have the opportunity to meet Benjamin in person, yet I feel like I know him because his spirit just continues to live on. And he innately knew that music was important for his healing, and so he would reach up for his signature headphones anytime during his treatment, during his journey. One of my favorite stories that Wendy shares is that they were in the elevator, I believe at Memorial Sloan Kettering, and there were a bunch of other people in the elevator as well, other patients and caregivers, and the tone, the energy in the elevator was just very solemn. And Benjamin just says, "We need some music." And he just hit play and put on a Michael Jackson song, and the entire energy in the elevator just completely shifted and lightened. And so that's the power that he knew innately that art, music had to his healing. Also, when he was receiving treatment at Memorial Sloan Kettering, they had integrative services and facilitators and therapists on staff. And so he also experienced dance movement therapy while in the hospital. And Wendy often shares that when one of the integrative specialists would come into the room, it would change the energy and shift the energy for Ben and for her and the family. And so she came to see the power of the healing arts. And one thing that Wendy often says is that while the healing arts did not change the outcome for Benjamin and their family, it did change the story. It did change their experience of that treatment and healing journey. So Wendy's hunch in wanting to continue Ben's legacy was that we need to bring the healing arts here to Hampton Roads, within the healthcare systems here in Hampton Roads. Wendy and I met in 2019. I was moving back to Hampton Roads from a few years up in Northern Virginia, and I had approached our local children's hospital with the idea of starting an integrative medicine department, finally realizing and hoping that the world was in a place now where we were open to integrative medicine. Why do I say that? Because back in 2002, when I started practicing yoga, when I had this hunch that this was really important, that healing and well-being encompassed so much more than pharmaceuticals. Yes, pharmaceuticals are important, and there's also so much else. I was sort of an outlier among my colleagues. Yoga wasn't as common as it is now. It wasn't as widely accepted. It certainly was not accepted within the medical community. When I was going through my yoga teacher training, many people in the yoga or sort of more holistic world did not trust or believe in allopathic physicians. I felt like I didn't really fit in either place. I felt like I couldn't talk about yoga to my medical colleagues, and I couldn't talk about medicine to my yoga friends. When I was graduated medical school and residency, I was applying to a fellowship program at a renowned academic hospital on the East Coast. And I said to my mentor, I said, I think yoga would be really great for kids with ADHD and autism. I think it could be really helpful. My mentor said to me, I agree with you. Don't bring that up at your interview. So in 2019, when I was moving back to Hampton Roads, the hospital was open to this idea. It was starting to become, all these practices have been starting to become a bit more mainstream. There's a handful of hospitals around the country that do have integrative medicine departments. So I approached the local hospital as a pediatrician with this interest. Wendy had recently started the Benjamin Goldberg Foundation, and she had also approached the hospital with interest in bringing the healing arts and integrative services to patients and caregivers from the Benjamin Goldberg Foundation and from the perspective of a parent and caregiver. We did not know each other at that time, and we both met for the first time in a hospital meeting room with hospital administration to initiate these discussions. And we were moving forward in it, and the hospital was very receptive to it. And then the pandemic hit. Priorities, budgets shifted. We all did what we had to do through the pandemic. And then in 2023, early 2023, I believe it was February 2023, Wendy and I reconnected. I had just decided to leave clinical practice. I'd been working at the Pediatric Urgent Care Center here, Loman's Plaza, Virginia Beach, all through the pandemic. And I realized it was time for me to step away from clinical practice. So I had just stepped away from clinical practice. Wendy and I reconnected. We were going for a walk at Mount Trashmore. And she was describing to me a little bit about what she's been doing. We were just catching up. She was describing with me a little bit of what her focus has been with the foundation. And she said to me, you know, I really want to expand this from the medical and scientific perspective, and I'm just not sure how. And I said, well, that's my passion as well. I would love to help. And so we joined forces, and that's when I became the medical advisor for the Benjamin Goldberg Foundation, which has a mission of transforming the healthcare experience through the healing arts, of inspiring and empowering children, caregivers, and communities through education, integrative programming, and advocacy. So what are the healing arts anyways? The healing arts are creative practices that promote healing, wellness, and coping through self-expression. These can include things like music, dance, movement, mind-body practices, drama, theater, writing. In much of the research on healing arts and healthcare, they talk about expressive arts engagement and receptive arts engagement. So either creating the art yourself, right? Creating a painting, creating music, engaging in drama or theater, or receptive arts engagement of visiting a museum, attending a performance. And there are health benefits to both types of engagement. Some of those health benefits are that they can help decrease stress, relieve anxiety. They can help with reducing pain, improving mobility, strengthening coping, and resilience. The World Health Organization defines health as a state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being, and not merely the absence of disease. That was my hunch back in 2002. That's also very similar to the definition that Ayurveda gives of health, that it is truly a state of overall vitality and encompassing, as I mentioned earlier, all aspects of our well-being, that we are not simply this physical dimension, but that also our emotional experiences, our relationships, our spiritual experiences all contribute to our experience of life itself, and that all contributes to our own overall health and well-being. And so perhaps you can see how the healing arts may fit in to this overall definition of health. So before we dive into social prescribing, I want to just describe a little bit of the work that we've done, that we did early on at the foundation. So our local children's hospital now, through our support, has a playroom where children and caregivers are able to receive Reiki therapy, yoga therapy, and music therapy. We have led community arts and education events. We have led caregiver wellness series to help address caregiver needs. We have also done educational events at the local children's hospital to educate healthcare providers about the evidence behind the benefits of healing arts. We really believe that not only do we as community need to be educated on this to initiate these discussions with our healthcare providers, but healthcare providers also need that education. We don't get that education in medical school. And so all of this work then led us to this concept of social prescribing. And we really actively initiated our work around social prescribing about 2 years ago. Social prescribing is an innovative approach that has already been adopted by 30 countries around the world, where healthcare providers or trained, trusted individuals in the community refer individuals and patients to a social prescription. This can look a number of different ways. This could look like a prescription to join a community garden, a prescription to volunteer, a prescription to take art classes, a prescription to take dance classes. It's an approach that realizes and recognizes that there are many aspects that contribute to health. Specifically, something that's known as social determinants of health. And so social prescribing is an approach that helps to address that. And it was started in the UK. And so most of the research that we have about the impact and benefits of social prescribing comes from the UK because that's where it's been around the longest. And it was actually started in response to the strain on the healthcare system, on healthcare providers, which we are experiencing here in the United States as well. Nationally, there is a shortage of primary care physicians, particularly worse in rural areas, related to many factors, including burnout. And so the UK was having a similar strain on their healthcare system, and were seeking ways to address that. And what they found was that 20% of general practitioner visits, primary care physician visits, were actually related to non-medical social causes, factors. Within 1 year of adopting and implementing a social prescribing pilot project, those non-medical social visits decreased by over 50%. And so what does this look like? There is a general framework of what social prescribing actually looks like. And it involves either a healthcare provider, someone from the clinical team, and or a trained, trusted community member to identify individuals who would benefit from a social prescription. They then are able to give the patient that social prescription. There's then a sort of connection process. In the UK, they actually developed a specific role to facilitate that connection. That role is called a link worker. In the US, perhaps the closest we can get to, closest that we could equate that to would be a social worker or a community health worker. But in the UK, it's a link worker who then meets with the patient, often in their home, and is able to spend an extended amount of time, more time than what the physician would have in the clinical setting, with the patient to really understand them, understand their needs, understand their interests, understand what do they used to enjoy. Something that we talk about often when we talk about social prescribing is shifting the conversation from what's the matter with you to what matters to you. So the link worker meets with the individual and asks them that question. And the link worker is aware of resources within the community and can then create a customized tailor referral for that individual to, let's say, take dance classes or volunteer with this specific community garden. And so it's not just going to the doctor and getting a prescription to exercise 5 days a week for half an hour each day. It's saying, this is what I think you would benefit from, and this is exactly where you can go to fulfill this prescription. And then the third step in the process is obviously engaging in that activity. The fourth step is follow-up. So just like we would with any conventional medical treatment, we follow up on how it's working. And so the link worker will then follow up with the individual and see how they're doing. Are there any adjustments that need to be made? And so that is the full sort of 4 steps. So the initial referral for a prescription, a connection process, engaging in the activity, and then follow up. I like to mention, and it is really important to me as a physician to stress this and emphasize this, that social prescribing is not a replacement for conventional medical treatments. It is a supplement to. It is a in addition to. It recognizes that what goes on in the clinic, in the clinical setting, is incredibly important, and what goes on outside of the clinic is also very important. So this is a timeline, a bit of our social prescribing story and when we started working with it. So we held our first social prescribing event March 2024. There is something called Social Prescribing Day, which is annually every March. The next one is March 26th 2026. And so we held a movie showing and panel discussion. And what we learned from that is that there is a lot of community interest in social prescribing. We were a little worried with that first event because it was us just innovating, having this idea and being like, well, let's just try it. We didn't really know how the community was going to respond to it or what the reaction would be. And we were a little worried with like how long we should have the panel discussion part. And the feedback was overwhelmingly, we wish the panel discussion was longer. We want to hear more about this. We want to learn more about this. And so that led us to continue this journey. And we held our first inaugural social prescribing regional convening September of 2024, where we specifically invited leaders within the Hampton Roads region for an in-person convening to initiate this conversation and move this forward within our region. And a lot has sparked from that initial convening. Including discussions about a healing arts social prescribing pilot project here within our region. And I'll share a little bit more about that in a moment. We also launched something called the Hampton Roads Social Prescribing Network to continue to sustain the connections that were formed. We, as part of our annual Healing Arts and Medicine Conference, our theme this past year was the Wave of Social Prescribing, where we brought in 4 national experts on social prescribing. That conference was held this past February, and it is on our YouTube channel. So if you're interested in diving deeper, that's where you can find that. Our next Healing Arts and Medicine Conference is going to be January 31st, and the theme for this upcoming year is the mind-body connection. So you can go to our website to learn more about that. But we also were recognized for our success with the regional convening on a national level. Social Prescribing USA is an organization that is seeking to advance this on a national level. And they recognize the success that we had with our regional convening. And we ended up collaborating with them to author a 50-page guide so that other regions across the country can replicate convenings like that to initiate these conversations within their own communities as well. With regards to developing the research project, we were recently awarded a grant so that we can move forward with the research project, and we are undergoing our final approval this month so that we can hopefully start it in January. So what is that project? Oh, I'll get to that in a second. Let's go over this first. Something else that's really exciting is that just in October, a group of medical students from UVA consulted us to create a policy around social prescribing in Virginia. And so we supported them in creating this policy resolution, which was presented to the Medical Society of Virginia, which is the professional organization for healthcare providers in Virginia. And they officially adopted this resolution in October of this year. And that resolution, a part of that is that MSV supports health institutions in the Commonwealth of Virginia in establishing social prescribing pilot projects and assessing their benefits, limitations, methods, and effectiveness. And so now more about the social prescribing project that we are working on. So this is going to be in collaboration with the Sentara Brock Cancer Center, Virginia Museum of Contemporary Art, Tidewater Music Therapy, and the Chrysler Museum of Art. And so we have been actively developing this project over the course of this entire year. And as I mentioned, we are reaching our sort of final approval status, hopefully by the end of this month, so that we can start recruiting patients into this study in January. And specifically, this study is going to look at for patients with cancer, head and neck cancer or breast cancer, who are being evaluated at any Sentara facility in Virginia Beach or Norfolk, will be given the option to enroll in this study and to choose a social prescribing healing arts pathway. That pathway can be either attending 6 music therapy sessions with Tidewater Music Therapy over a 3-month period, or 6 museum visits at the Chrysler Museum of Art, and with activities that may be facilitated in conjunction of educators from the Virginia MoCA and the Chrysler Museum of Art. within a 3-month period, and we're going to evaluate the impact that that intervention has on their mental health, anxiety, and depression, as well as, and this is something that has not been done in this country before, is looking at how this intervention impacts their healthcare utilization, how often they are needing to be seen by their physician, how often are they needing to be seen in the emergency room or hospitalized. Our hypothesis is that that will decrease through this intervention. So I want to share with you just a brief snippet, 2-minute snippet from a mini documentary that we created this year. The full documentary is 10 minutes long. It's on our YouTube, but this is just a brief snippet about this project.
You know, making your journey a little easy with the healing arts, but also the financial impact of these therapies. Or when someone engages in these therapies, is it shortening their doctor visits? Is it cutting down patients going to the emergency room? You know, all of these other things that really come into a place. So that's where, you know, we've got it down to these 2 segments. It's premenopausal breast and head and neck, which typically is a hard population to serve.
So often in our healthcare system, as physicians, we are either asking our patients to eliminate certain activities from their lifestyle or their diet, or we're asking them to take a medication to treat their condition. But with social prescribing as a model, we're able to actually provide a direct referral pathway to patients. So it's not just, here's a prescription to go get more exercise, or here's a prescription to take an art class, but here's a prescription, and this is exactly where you can go to fill this prescription, to actually engage in that exercise, to actually engage in that art activity. Social prescribing originated in the UK in response to the strain on the healthcare system. When they implemented a social prescribing pilot project within 1 year, those non-medical social GP, general practitioner visits, decreased by more than 50%.
So once again, this will be, we do know that social prescribing and healing arts, the most research around that is really around mental health outcomes. So we will be looking at that data, and like I mentioned, this is actually the first study in the country that will be actually looking at how this affects and impacts how often patients are requiring healthcare services as a result of this intervention. I wanted to highlight some other work that we've been doing in the community. This year, we also were able to collaborate with the Chrysler Museum of Art to create reflection prompts, wellness reflection prompts. And so if you go to visit the Chrysler Museum of Art, you will see on the second floor there are 8 pieces of art that have wellness labels, reflection prompts, really encouraging visitors to pause and take another moment with the artwork and really reflect on what that artwork may represent on their own healing journeys. And it doesn't take a long time. It's really meant to just give visitors an opportunity to pause and reflect. We launched these art and wellness labels in September as part of the Chrysler Museum's Mixtape First Thursdays monthly event, where the museum was open in the evening. And that event also featured various wellness activities being facilitated within the gallery spaces, which was just absolutely beautiful to see Tai Chi and music therapy and Zumba within the gallery spaces. We also premiered our mini documentary, which you just saw a clip of as well at that event. These labels will be on display at least until April. So if you have not had a chance to take a look at them yet, definitely do so. And then how can you get involved in this? So there's a few ways that you can get involved. One, self-prescriptions. So as a physician, I do not recommend prescribing, self-prescribing generally. However, I will say that after looking at a lot of the research on the healing arts, there are really little to no adverse effects or side effects of engaging in community arts activities. So if you feel called to, And as long as you are, one thing that I'm big on is listen to your own body. So if you feel called to, listen to your own body and take a look at your own interests. And one thing that I often say is, because sometimes we can reach these spaces where we can forget about, I have definitely been in this space before, multiple times, where you can forget about, well, what does give me joy? What does matter to me? And so sometimes it can be helpful to think back as far as you can to like what has given you joy in the past, or to brainstorm with loved ones. I've done both of those things. And I have self-prescribed, right? That journey to me led me to a few years ago signing up for salsa lessons with my brother and sister-in-law. It led me to, over the past 2 years, taking ballet classes and taking pottery classes. So that's one way to get involved, to prescribe these until we are able to formally adopt this within the US healthcare system. How can you begin to integrate some of this in your own life and or for your loved ones? Another way, therapeutic art programs. I know we have a lot of artists in the room. If you are an artist who provides therapeutic art programs, connect with a local healthcare provider in the region. Set up a referral system. While we don't have, a regional or a national system in place yet, and we are working on that here at the foundation, it may take time. But can you do that on a one-on-one personal level, talking to your own healthcare professionals? Hey, I provide this program. This might benefit some of your patients. Can I leave some of my cards here, some of my flyers here? Do you mind handing this out if you're speaking with a patient who you think this would be beneficial for? Setting that up one-on-one. A caveat here is if you are leading your own therapeutic art program, as a foundation, it is really important to us that we are honoring the terminology and vocabulary as we are bringing this really innovative and new approach and educating about it within the community. And so just be mindful of how and where and when you're using that term social prescribing. Social prescribing really does refer to this full wraparound care of a referral in place, engaging in the activity and having some sort of follow-up. And so if you're providing a therapeutic art program, but it doesn't have that sort of referral system in place, perhaps being mindful of what sort of terminology and vocabulary you're using, something such as arts for wellness would be a perfect way to describe that sort of activity. And then the Peace Out portal. If you are an artist sitting in this room, if you are someone who facilitates guided healing arts experiences for others, we would love your contribution to the Peace Out portal. The Peace Out portal is a resource that we have created as the foundation. It's an online resource, and the intention of it is for it to be free, easy, accessible to patients and caregivers, to healthcare providers, to anyone within the community who may need access to some of these guided healing arts experiences. We have a number of contributors who have already contributed to this within visual arts, music, mind, body, and movement experiences. Guided experiences are anywhere from 2 to 10 minutes long, and they are really meant to be something that someone could access if they are in a treatment room, if they are in a waiting room, if they are at home. And so if that's something that you would like to contribute to, we're always looking to continue to expand that. So please reach out to us. These are all the ways that you can reach out to us. There's that QR code. We're on all the social places. And I want to do a quick shout out to our team. I mentioned Wendy and I joined forces we first met in 2019, really joined forces on this mission actively in 2023. We are a team of 4, so we have Jennifer Chapman here as well, and Loretto Dalmazo here, and so that is our full team, and I'd be happy to take any questions if we have time for that.
Oh, thank you so much. The hands are shooting out. All right, come over here first.
That was awesome. I hope this is working. That was fantastic. I'm a naturopathic doctor, and we've connected before, but I am moved by your fierceness. I love this, and I want to help, and I don't know quite how, but there you have it. I have a private practice, and this is, as a naturopathic doctor, I do I'm not going to say the word exactly because I don't have all the pieces. And so I should say I encourage the type of social interaction and all of the things, and I have seen it firsthand time and time again. I'm even teaching now, and even in teaching, we did a 5-minute Qigong before the tests, and the grades were better. And so after the test, so this was spectacular. Thank you for your time today.
Thank you. All right, one more over here.
Okay, my question, comment is sort of twofold. I am a premenopausal breast cancer survivor, benefited from the Brock Center and all of that they're doing with their integrated therapies. One of the things that helps me most during chemo was acupuncture. And one of the things that I stumbled upon was the cost, because there was always a cost associated with it, even though I was getting a referral for it, a prescription, so to speak. Until the U.S. healthcare system and insurance policies and all of the red tape stuff that we're aware of catches up, how can we as a community best help support those programs so that, cancer patients like myself who may not have the resources to pay, the $45 visit for acupuncture during their cancer treatment, how can we support that beyond even the healing arts, just as business owners and community people? Everything that you're doing, I should add, is amazing. I'm so inspired, and I too want to, help you on the patient side in any way I can. I'm still treated at the Brock Center every month, so yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you both for those comments and questions. In response to your comment and question, one of our goals with the research project is to demonstrate and prove that there is a decrease in healthcare utilization that is important to patients and reflects that they are clinically doing better. And from the healthcare system side, which, let's face it, the healthcare system is a business, to demonstrate cost savings to the healthcare system. Our long-term goal with this is that we are able to demonstrate enough benefit and create a case for these services to be reimbursable by insurance companies. It might take us some time, but that is our goal, and that is the long-term vision that we are working towards. Until then, there is so you may have been familiar, I'm not sure if you did acupuncture at the Carrillo Kern Center for Integrative Services, which is in the Sentara Brock Cancer Center. So know that that exists.
And they have amazing programs. They have Reiki, massage therapy, pet therapy, and a couple others. I'm probably
art therapy, music therapy, exactly. So they have a range of services. And so that is certainly a resource. If you are, another part of your question was if you're a business owner, how else can you support that? So I'll share an example. Tidewater Music Therapy is one of our partners that we're collaborating with on the research project. We've partnered with them on a number of initiatives. And so that's an example, a wonderful example that just comes to mind for me is that they offer a scholarship. And so they host a couple of events each year to raise funds, fundraising events, specifically for their scholarship program so that they can provide specific scholarships to individuals who may benefit from music therapy but can't afford it. So if you're a business owner, if you're a small business owner and you're able to, just kind of think creatively and again, innovatively, right? What is that hunch that's coming up for you to move that forward? That could be a way as well. In response to something that you had shared earlier as well of sort of what are other ways to sort of get involved and continue to support and move this initiative forward, stay connected, right? Stay connected with the community, stay connected with us. Also, for any artists in the room, you just heard that she is a naturopath and she is really open to referring her patients to these services. I'm just gonna go ahead and put that out there, connect with her. One of the call to actions that I had for you today was that if you are an artist who provides therapeutic art programs, to reach out to a local healthcare provider. Well, there you go. Any other questions? I don't know if we have time for it, but if we do.
I see a lot of hands. We're running a little bit long on time, so one more.
Hi, Christina Kimbrough here. So I'm in recovery from mental health and addiction, and I just wondered is there a crossover, or is anyone doing that in that field? And then also Free Life, I have monthly wellness events I'd love to donate tickets, like that's done. So, but I'd love to hear what the studies say on that.
We like donations, right?
There's a lot of research on the healing arts and social prescriptions for mental health. I have not seen, although I'll be honest, I don't think I've looked specifically into this pathway for addiction. So the research might be out there, I just haven't actively sought it out yet. But with regards to mental health, that is the area where we do have the most research out the benefits of it. I see Wendy's hand, so Wendy, you may want to have some contribution to something that was said.
Thank you for your question. I mean, it's really so, as we evolve here at the foundation, to help patients, like you said, reimburse for these expenses that are not covered is something that we have not done yet. So as part of our strategic plan for 26 to 28, we're working on that and presenting it to our board in January. But we will be looking for grant funding to come up with, the title is the Healing Arts Community Fund, which we will, if we can secure funding, we would love to reimburse or help put this money back out on the street, because we understand it, that is such the block a lot of times for getting the patients, the caregivers, even the medical teams to really understand what this is. So yes, so that's something we're going to be working on.
All right, friends, we're going to cut it short. Sorry, I do see some more hands. She's not going anywhere, but we want to get a group photo, and we want people who need to get to work can work on time. So please join us right out front for a big group photo, and then welcome to take some more questions. Much.